He was Colombia's next cycling superstar, the hottest property in the World Tour after winning the Tour de l'Avenir, following victories at the Tour de Suisse, podiums at the Grand Tours, and was even nicknamed Superman. Miguel Ángel López looked destined for glory on the highest level of cycling, but then it all came crashing down. Doping allegations, feuds with fans, public meltdowns, and a shocking fall from grace. And we're left with the question, what happened to Miguel Ángel López? Was he a victim of circumstance or a fallen hero? Before we start the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel here on The Cycling Dane, and here is a message from our sponsors. Today's partner of the video is Map Magic, the ultimate route planner for cycling, hiking, and running enthusiasts. Whether you're conquering mountains, cruising picturesque paths, or exploring new terrains, Map Magic has you covered. Easily plan activity-specific routes with just a few clicks, choosing from hiking, mountain biking, and road cycling, and more. Customize your adventure's intensity and stay informed with detailed terrain and complexity data. Explore over 50 layers and overlays, from satellite views to camping spots and water sources. Mark points of interest, collaborate with friends in real time, and share your routes seamlessly. Map Magic provides a unique opportunity for collaborative route planning. Plot routes together with your fellow travelers, ensuring a well-structured and engaging journey for everyone. Plan multi-day trips with clear segments for smooth, unforgettable journeys, and easily sync your routes with Garmin for uninterrupted adventures. Upgrade to the Map Magic Pro for even more features and make your outdoor adventures that bit magical. Download Map Magic today. Your adventure awaits. Miguel Ángel López, born in Colombia, is the fourth of 7 brothers from a peasant family in the town of Pesca, located 2,600 meters above sea level in the region of Boyacá. This region is known for great connection to the world of cycling, with Nairo Quintana even being from this region. Miguel Ángel López's first contact with a bicycle came late, as he started 15 years old. Lopez's road cycling career as a youth really took a step up when he started competing in 2011-2012 in the Vuelta del Porvenir race in Colombia. However, he faced challenges early on with a wrist fracture in the 2012 edition due to a fall. In 2013, he had another crash before the Vuelta de la Juventud in the under-23 category, but he still finished 4th despite suffering from a ligament injury in his right knee that nearly made him quit cycling altogether. During his youth, he also got that famous nickname of Superman, not for his physical prowess or flying up the climbs, but rather because there was an instance where he defended himself and prevented his bike from being stolen by 2 thieves who stabbed him in the leg during his youth. But he still got away with his bike. 2014 was a big year for Lopez. In the beginning of the year, Lopez finished 4th in the under-23 Colombian Time Trial Championships and won the under-23 Salamanca Classic and 2 stages of the Vuelta de la Juventud, and that called on the Colombian Federation to select him for the Tour de l'Avenir with the national team that included rising stars such as Rodrigo Contreras and even Fernando Gaviria. The Tour de l'Avenir is of course a hotbed for emerging talent, and the Colombian national team had been very successful in the previous editions, having won it in 2011 with Nairo Quintana and Esteban Chavez in 2012. That year's edition began with a prologue in which Lopez came 13th with no major time losses, and in the first road stages he finished safely in the bunch, losing no further time. And on stage 4, which was a 165.3 kilometer mountain stage, Lopez finished 42 seconds down on the stage winner Daveranok. But despite not winning the stage, Lopez managed to take over the yellow jersey by 3 seconds, down to the Dutch rider Sam Oomen. The next day, Lopez finished 5th on a stage won by Dylan Teuns, before Lopez cemented his yellow jersey credentials by winning the 6th stage to La Rosière, out-sprinting Robert Power in the finish and defending the yellow jersey the next day on the way to La Toussuire, finishing 4th and winning the race by 30 seconds overall, down to the Australian Robert Power. As you would expect for a winner of the Tour de l'Avenir, he signed a World Tour contract, and that meant for the following season he would be riding for the Astana team, who had just won the Tour de France with Vincenzo Nibali, and Fabio Aru had finished 3rd in the Giro d'Italia and 5th in the Vuelta, so a great season for Astana and an ideal setting for any rider with ambitions of performing at the Grand Tour level. The next year, in 2015, his first World Tour season, Lopez competed at the Colombian National Road Championships, finishing 8th, and he then moved to Europe, participating in the Vuelta a Catalunya, which he couldn't quite finish due to inadequate preparation and a knee problem. After recovering, however, he went to the Tour of Turkey, where he was able to finish 2nd on the 6th stage behind the winner of Peel Bilbao, and his first success at the World Tour level was at the Tour de Suisse, where Lopez managed to finish 7th on the 2nd stage of the race. And on the Queen stage, he was up towards the pointy end of the race with the likes of Geraint Thomas, but with 2.5 kilometers to go from the finish, when Spilak and Thibaut Pinot attacked, Lopez seemed almost unwilling or refused to chase down the riders on his own, and ultimately the Colombian finished 4th on this stage, and he ended the race 7th overall. Not a bad result. His next challenge was the Vuelta a Burgos, and here the Astana team was strong. They won the team time trial on stage 2, and on the 4th stage, Astana dominated once again, with Lopez winning a sprint against Daniel Moreno. On top of that, Astana had 2 other riders in the top 10 that day. At the end, Lopez finished 4th overall and won the Young Riders classification as well. Lopez ended the season competing in the World Championships and a few classics like Milan-Torino and Il Lombardia, but again he was hindered by knee problems. Lopez began the next season in 2016 with a strong performance at the Tour of San Juan, winning the Queen stage, beating the superstar Nairo Quintana and his brother Daya Quintana in a sprint, but Lopez was ultimately 4th overall and the best young rider. His next test was the Tour of Langkawi, where Lopez won on stage 4, but lost the overall win because of an untimely puncture during the race, and meant that he had to settle for an overall podium. His first World Tour victory came in the Tour de Suisse, where he was up there again towards the front on stage 6, and the next stage he finished 2nd behind TJ Van Garderen, before on the following stage, a lumpy time trial, Lopez was 2nd again, but crucially, he overtook the leader's jersey with 8 seconds and held off the challenge of the final stage to win the race overall. This was quite a significant win for him, sealing his first World Tour victory, but also he became the first Colombian to win the race and the 2nd youngest winner of the race, only behind Roman Kreuziger. Astana, on the back of these good results, renewed his contract for 2 more years, and he was even included in the Vuelta a España squad. Despite this, his debut at the Grand Tour was cut short by a severe crash on stage 6, causing facial trauma and the loss of several teeth. He did recover, however, during the season, but had plenty of DNFs in the Italian one-day races, but this was crucial for his comeback, as he went on to win the Milan-Turin Classic with an incredible attack 400 meters from the finish, taking the win and sealing his first one-day pro victory. Unfortunately for Lopez, there was more bad luck to come, as he suffered a serious tibia fracture during training in November that sidelined him for over 6 months. In 2017, with the departure of Fabio Aru, Astana considered Lopez for the Tour de France. However, due to the series of injuries, this delayed his recovery even more. He did, however, return to try and defend his Tour de Suisse title, but had to retire after a crash on stage 5, injuring his face and fracturing his thumb, which ruled him out for the Tour de France, unfortunately. Lopez went to the Tour of Austria instead of the Tour, and here he was strong in the opening prologue, finishing 2nd, and he went on to finish 3rd on stage 2, losing the win in a sprint, and on stage 4, the the Queen stage, Lopez was strong and attacked 3.2 kilometers from the finish and won with 17 seconds down to second. He ultimately finished the race on the podium, which was a good result considering his recovery. His next challenge was the Vuelta a Burgos, where Lopez was near the front once again on the first mountain stage on the Pincon Blanco stage. However, further into the race, he did manage to take a stage win on the final one, outgunning Enric Mas and Miguel Ángel, and ultimately finished fourth once more. Lopez was selected for the Vuelta a España that year, given his good form, and the 2017 Vuelta a España was a good chance to prove himself after crashing out of the previous year's edition. The route, although undulating, didn't offer too many chances for Lopez until stage 11, and on the final climb, Lopez attacked and gained some space, and so it proved as Superman flew up the climb and claimed his maiden Grand Tour victory. Given that he had to wait a combined 17 stages before winning his first Grand Tour stage, it wasn't long before his second stage came around, which came from a similar scenario where he attacked away from a group of favorites. This time it was on stage 15, and the Colombian savored the second victory even more. The stage victories moved him from 15th at the start of stage 11 to 6th by the end of stage 16. From there, he would continue in 6th overall despite losing time in the time trial, and it was only on the penultimate day that he was dropped on the fearsome Angle route and he was knocked down to 8th on GC. However, 8th overall in your first completed Grand Tour is an amazing feat and showed the huge potential Miguel Ángel López had as a GC rider. Following his strong performances in 2017's Vuelta a España, Lopez the following year was named as team leader for the 2018 Giro d'Italia and the Vuelta a España. He started the season with a stage win on the Green Mountain in front of his teammate Adetu Lutsenko, who would ultimately win the race overall, with Lopez finishing second, and then he went on to finish third in the Abu Dhabi Tour, and in preparation for the Giro d'Italia he went to Tirreno Adriatico and the Tour of the Alps, winning a stage on the second day and finishing third overall. Despite early falls in the Giro d'Italia, Lopez consistently performed well, finishing fourth on the Monte Soncolan stage, and the following day finishing second 41 seconds after the stage winner of Simon Yates. Lopez snuck on to the final podium as both Simon Yates and Thibaut Pinot imploded close to the finish of the race, and that also meant that Miguel Ángel López won the Best Young Riders classification on top of his podium. At the Vuelta, he was up towards the front in many of the stages, particularly on stage 14 and 15, where he finished second behind Simon Yates and Thibaut Pinot respectively, and on stage 20, the final mountain stage in Andorra, he was able to finish second to Enric Mas and moved up to third place overall. So that meant 2 Grand Tours in 2018 and 2 podiums. Quite an impressive achievement by the youngster. The following year in 2019, Lopez started the year by winning the overall classification at the Tour Colombia race. Lopez continued his momentum by finishing third overall at the UAE Tour, winning the Young Riders classification in the process as well. At the Vuelta a Catalunya, Lopez attacked on the Queen stage and won by 16 seconds and managed to defend the lead and win the overall classification, showing his incredible climbing prowess once more. He continued his form at the Giro d'Italia, where he was aiming for the podium. He had ridden a steady race in the beginning after a 4th place in the opening time trial, and as he headed into the final week of the race, he was sitting 10th overall, even building on it to be 6th going into stage 20, 5 minutes and 33 seconds down on the leader, Richard Carapaz. What happened next was Lopez losing both a chance of a stage win, but more crucially his temper, and even running at risk of disqualification from the race. The stage itself was challenging, being the penultimate stage of the race, and the organizers wanting truly to test the riders on this mountain pass. It was a very active day, and Lopez was one of the many who launched attacks before the final climb. His teammate Pil Bilbao was able to get away with Miguel Ángel and was well placed to help the Colombian should he bridge across. That was a potential plan, however, fate did not conspire to turn out that way. Whilst on the final climb, there was a coming together of a fan and Miguel Ángel López. This led to López and the fan being on the ground, and when the Colombian got up, he appeared to be so angry that he hit the fan a couple of times and the cap flying off as well, and this really scuppered his chances. López returned to the Vuelta a España once more, where his team won the opening team time trial, and he even wore the leader's jersey for a couple of days but lost it on stage 6. He was up there near the front for most of the mountain stages, and in the end finished 5th overall and lost the young riders classification to a certain Tadej Pogačar. 2020 was a season disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic, but López still managed to achieve significant results. He started strong at the Volta al Garve, where he managed to win a stage in front of Dan Martin and Remco Evenepoel, and he finished 3rd overall in the race. Then after the break in August, he competed at the Criterium du Dauphiné, finishing 6th overall to prepare for the Tour de France. Thereafter, he lined up for the first time in his career for the biggest bike race in the world. In the beginning, he achieved top 10 placings on stage 4 and stage 15, and he was performing well overall, occupying 4th going into this stage 17, the Queen stage from Grenoble, which featured plenty of HC tests among the Col de Madeleine and the Col de la Loze. López was in a very elite group of 5 riders with Sepp Kuss, Tadej Pogačar, Primož Roglič and Richie Porte. Initially, Sepp Kuss got the gap to the others in the group, and then when López went to pace Roglič, López was left to continue on his own, and that meant the Colombian took the race win on the incredible stage of the 2020 Tour de France, showcasing that he can win a stage, and this really cemented his status as one of the best climbers in the world. Unfortunately, a crash in the final time trial dashed his hopes of a podium on La Planche de Belfi, and he fell down to 4th place. López even went to the Giro d'Italia as well because of the rearranged calendar, but it didn't go to plan, as on stage 1, the opening time trial, he had one of the most bizarre crashes and bad luck that you've ever seen in a time trial, and that meant that he crashed out on the Giro d'Italia, not even having completed the first stage. 2021 was a new era for the Colombian, as after 6 years of riding for the Astana team, he moved and joined forces with Movistar. In his 4th race of the season, the Vuelta a Andalucía, he won a stage and overall, so already a strong start for the Colombian, and he continued his season at the Criterium du Dauphiné, and once again he finished 6th overall before switching his focus to the Tour de France for that year. And on the road, Enric Mas seemed to be the best performer of the team, and outside of stage hunting, the team would ride for Enric Mas. López had bad luck in the race and pulled out after stage 18 and did not start the following day. Then came the team's focus of the Vuelta a España. They went into the race with their much famed tactic of a trident leadership, and this time it was Mas, Valverde and López. After 6 stages, the trident were working fairly well together. The 3 riders were occupying 2nd, 3rd and 4th overall, and if it wasn't for Primož Roglič, they would have had a clean sweep of the podium. Unfortunately, the following day, Valverde crashed quite scarily as he hit a bump in the road around a corner and then slid off the road downhill, a meter or 2 either way, and he could have collided with some metal guardrails, and although he tried to battle on, he wasn't able to continue. There were fluctuations in the GC positions, but by the end of stage 17 up to the Lagos Covadonga, Mas and López were 2nd and 3rd overall in the GC standings. López impressively won stage 18 and everything looked incredible. However, from the high came a rather sudden and surprising twist on stage 20. During the stage, Ineos launched an attack with Egan Bernal, which when brought back was countered by Adam Yates. This led to a quintet of riders getting away: Yates, Roglič, Haig, Gino Mera and Enric Mas, and López's whereabouts were unknown. López was next seen by his team car, getting in the team car, and decided to quit the race mid-race. No injury, no crash, and this seemed absolutely incredible. In the incredible Movistar documentary, it can be seen that López and Enric Mas were at odds with one another due to racing incidents as early as stage 9, where Mas kept riding with Roglic despite team orders imploring him not to. Despite management trying to mediate and calm the two riders, Lopez had made his own attacks on the road to try and get back at the perceived injustice. So, when the group split on stage 20, Enric Mas told Lopez not to work in his group and therefore not bring back the GC hopefuls who were looking to get back in contention. Lopez was eventually told by management to stop chasing in his group, which Lopez perceived as them no longer having faith in him and not allowing him to keep fighting for his podium position. With such a loss of faith and being told to give in, he gave in more than expected and told the management, "Gentlemen, I'm ending this here. It's been a pleasure." Shortly after this incident at the Vuelta a España, Movistar and Miguel Ángel López mutually agreed to terminate his contract, and he would soon find himself back in familiar surroundings at Astana, which was now known as Astana, Kazakhstan. The next year, in 2022, Lopez, by his standards, had a relatively steady year on the bike. He took a stage victory at the Tour of the Alps and the Mountains jersey at the Vuelta a Burgos. He also came fourth in the Vuelta a España, but otherwise the season was unspectacular from a sporting view. As the race was unspectacular on the bike, it was less so off it. Shortly after his stage win in the Tour of the Alps and DNFing at the Giro, Miguel Ángel López was reported by Ciclo 21 that his connection to Dr. Marcos Maynard was under investigation, and this led to Astana suspending him provisionally whilst it was being sorted. He did return to racing at Burgos and the Vuelta, but then in mid-December 2022, Astana released the following statement with his connection to the doctor, and that was a breach of the contract and internal team rules and meant that the team ended the contract. For the 2023 season, Lopez didn't find a World Tour team and signed for Medellin EPM, a Colombian continental team, and that meant that his race calendar would not be including any of the World Tour races, and this team included his fellow countrymen of Fabio Duarte and the former Vuelta a España second place finisher of Oscar Sevilla. Lopez dominated the races that year. He won a non-UCI race, the Clásica de Veleta, but the big test for the team was the Vuelta San Juan International, where he had World Tour opposition. On the fifth stage up to the Alto Colorado, this was the moment. Remco Evenepoel, the world champion, attacked and failed, but Lopez came with the blow a few kilometers from the finish, and this saw the Colombian superstar take the victory, and he defended the lead all the way to the finish and took the win overall, something he had never done as a World Tour rider but now did as a continental rider. After that, he had a strong record of winning races, at least a stage in nearly every stage race in which he took part across both the American continents. He even won the Colombian national time trial title and came second in that discipline in the Pan American Games, only beaten by his national teammate Walter Vargas. And then came one of the most impressive results for the Colombian, one of the biggest shows of dominance any rider has done in a stage race, and this came at the Vuelta a Colombia, where Lopez won the prologue. He then won the first road stage. He faltered slightly and came second on stage 2, but quickly refound his form and won stage 3, 4 and 5, and then continued winning, claiming wins in all the stages of the race apart from that second place on stage 2. Some of these wins were from sprint finishes, others through winning solo, but complete and utter dominance from Lopez. The nickname Superman really took another meaning here. Overall, he won the GC 9 out of the 10 stages, the Mountains jersey and the Points jersey. The only jersey he didn't win was the youth classification on the account of his age. He even continued to win the Central America Continental Time Trial, reversing the result of the Pan American Games by beating Vargas. Unfortunately for Lopez, more bad news was to come, as based on an investigation conducted by the International Testing Agency, the UCI notified Miguel Ángel López of a potential anti-doping violation, and after a review, the Colombian rider had been notified of a potential ADRV for use and possession of a prohibited substance in the weeks prior to the Giro d'Italia 2022. He was provisionally suspended until the final decision, and that final decision came in 2024 when it was announced that the rider would be suspended from this sport effective from 25th of July 2023 until 2027. So a 4-year suspension, which hampered his chances. He also had some other bad news as well, as 21st of September 2023, whilst he was unable to compete, 3 people detained him and stole his Ford truck, a cell phone, and what was said to be $800,000, but was later corrected to 800,000 pesos. Miguel Ángel López, despite his earlier successes and resilience, this suspension marks a significant and challenging period in López's career, impacting his ability to compete professionally, and maybe this is the last time that we will see the Superman at the highest level of the sport. That's basically it for this video. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel here on the Cycling Dane, and if you want to see more of our WTF videos, why not check out the one with Marcel Kittel or Tyler Finney. But with that, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.